My beloved brothers and sisters, have you ever felt like you're chasing something day and night, but still feel empty inside? You earn more, but the peace is missing. You succeed outwardly, but your heart feels distant from Allah. We tell ourselves we're working hard for a better life, but in that chase we forget the giver of life. Salah becomes delayed, dhikr becomes rare, and slowly we drift without even noticing. But remember this, money was never your purpose. Allah was. He said in the Quran, I did not create jinn and mankind except to worship me. Surah Ad-Dariyat 56. So if your heart feels tired and your soul is searching, stay with me. Because today we'll go through these reminders that will bring you back to what truly matters. 1. Chasing money will never satisfy the emptiness in your heart. In the world we live in today, many people have been taught, whether directly or indirectly, that their worth is tied to how much money they make. That their value as a human being increases if they have a high-paying job, a big house, the latest smartphone, designer clothes, or a luxury car. Society often tells us that if you're not constantly earning more, buying more, or showing off more, then you're falling behind. But this idea is not only harmful, it's completely false when you look at it through the lens of Islam. Because in truth, the heart was never created to be filled by material things. Allah, our Creator, made the human heart in such a way that it can only feel whole, peaceful, and fulfilled when it is connected to Him. You can pour all the money, fame, and status into that emptiness, but it will never be enough. Let me explain it simply. You might achieve everything the world tells you to chase. You might become a millionaire, live in a mansion, and have people praise you wherever you go. But if your relationship with Allah is weak or non-existent, you will still feel something missing inside. That feeling is not something you can ignore. It's a deep, heavy sadness, an unexplainable anxiety, a restless feeling that something is not right. No matter how much you try to cover it with wealth or entertainment, this is because the soul longs for its creator, not for cash. And when the soul is starved of its connection with Allah, it begins to ache in silence, even if everything around you looks perfect. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave us timeless wisdom when he said, if the son of Adam were given a valley full of gold, he would desire a second. This hadith reveals something profound about human nature. The more we have, the more we want. Desire never ends, and the love for money can become a bottomless pit. It's just like drinking salty seawater. No matter how much you drink, it never quenches your thirst. In fact, it only makes you thirstier and sicker. That's exactly what happens when a person keeps chasing money without spiritual guidance. The more they earn, the more they feel they're lacking. They keep thinking, just a little more, then I'll be happy. But that moment never comes. True peace, the kind that settles your mind, soothes your heart, and gives you calm even in chaos, does not come from a paycheck. It doesn't come from promotions, raises, or luxury goods. It comes from remembering Allah. It comes from sitting quietly and knowing deep in your heart that your life has purpose beyond worldly gain. It comes from the unshakable trust that whatever is written for you by Allah will come to you at the right time, and whatever passes you by was never meant for you. This belief removes anxiety and allows your soul to rest. And this is where many people go wrong. They confuse being comfortable with being happy. They think that living in comfort means they are successful and joyful. But look around at the wealthiest people in the world. Many of them suffer from depression, mental health issues, family breakdowns, and spiritual emptiness, because while they were building their financial empire, they neglected the most important part of themselves, their soul. But on the other hand, a person who may have very little just a small income, simple clothes, and a modest home, but whose heart is full of faith and gratitude, will live a life full of peace, barakah, and inner joy. Because when the heart is with Allah, it is never empty, no matter what the wallet looks like. So, if you find yourself constantly stressed about money, constantly thinking, when will I have more, or constantly comparing your life to others, pause, take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I chasing something that can never truly satisfy me? Because the reality is, no amount of wealth can give you what only Allah can. The heart will always remain thirsty until it drinks from the well of remembrance and trust in its Lord. Connect to Allah, and your heart will no longer crave what was never meant to satisfy it in the first place. 2. Your provision comes from Allah, not your hustle alone. In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly told that if you want something, you have to work non-stop for it. The message we hear over and over again is hustle harder, grind more, sleep less, and push yourself beyond your limits, because if you don't, someone else will take your place. And while hard work and effort are important in Islam, what many people forget is that our sustenance, our rizq, comes from Allah alone. You could be the most hardworking person in your field, but if Allah has not written something for you, you will never be able to achieve it. And on the other hand, someone else could receive more with less effort simply because Allah decreed it for them. Allah clearly says in the Quran in Surah Adh-Dhariyat 51:22, and in the heaven is your provision and whatever you are promised. This verse is a beautiful and powerful reminder that no matter how much effort you put in, your rizq was already written for you before you were even born. It's already written in the heavens by the one who created you. Before you ever opened your eyes to this world, before you ever held your first job, your share of provision was set. That doesn't mean you sit back and do nothing, but it means you stop obsessing, stop fearing, and stop believing that you're in control of everything. You see, the problem happens when people start believing that their money is earned only because of their own efforts, skills, intelligence, or education. This belief can slowly lead to arrogance. A person may think, I worked for this, I deserve this, I built this from scratch, and completely forget the unseen favors of Allah behind every opportunity, every success, every deal, and every promotion. The strength to wake up in the morning, the breath in your lungs, the mind that works, the ability to speak, to move, to understand, all of it comes from Allah. Without His permission, you wouldn't even be able to lift a finger. So how can we think we're the sole providers of our own success? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us to tie our camel, meaning to take the means, but to always trust that the outcome is in Allah's hands. You have to do your part. You wake up, you go to work, you make honest effort. But after that, you leave the results to the one who controls every atom in the universe. And here's something incredible to think about. Allah provides for every creature on this earth. He feeds the fish deep in the ocean, the birds high in the sky, the ants in their underground tunnels, the animals in remote deserts, and the insects hidden beneath leaves. Each of them wakes up in the morning with nothing but returns full by evening. Do you really think the Lord who takes care of them will forget about you? This is why the Prophet ﷺ said, if you were to rely upon Allah with the reliance He is due, He would provide for you as He provides for the birds. They go out hungry in the morning and return full in the evening. Tirmidhi. Think about that. The bird doesn't sit in its nest all day waiting for food to drop from the sky. It flies out. It does its part. But it trusts that provision will come, and it does. Similarly, you must put in effort, but your heart must rely on Allah. not your resume or your job title. One of the most common mistakes people make today is sacrificing their entire life for money, believing it will secure their future. They neglect their family, delay their prayers, lose sleep, and sometimes even fall into haram dealings, thinking that they're just being responsible. But in reality, they are losing what is far more valuable than money: their peace, their faith, their family, and their connection with Allah. There is no blessing in wealth that is earned in disobedience to the one who provides it. When you chase money blindly, thinking it's the key to your survival, you're living in fear. But when you recognize that Allah is your provider, you live with calm, with peace, and with dignity. You no longer beg people, no longer humiliate yourself for the sake of a raise or approval, because your heart knows what is written for me will reach me, even if the whole world tries to stop it. And what is not written for me will never reach me, even if the whole world works to bring it. So work with excellence. Be professional. Use the talents Allah gave you, but never forget your rizq is in the hands of the most merciful. He knows your needs before you even raise your hands in dua. He hears your silent prayers and sees your secret struggles. And if you put your trust in Him, He will open doors you never even knew existed. May Allah increase your provision in halal ways, bless your work with barakah, and never allow your heart to depend on anything or anyone but Him. Ameen. 3. Wealth is not a trophy, it is a test. In today's society, wealth is often seen as a sign of achievement, power, and even superiority. When someone drives an expensive car, owns a huge house, or runs a successful business, people immediately assume that person must be highly favored, intelligent, or even blessed beyond others. But in the eyes of Allah, wealth is not a reward or a trophy to be worshipped or displayed. It is a test, sometimes the hardest kind of test a person can face. Allah clearly tells us in the Quran, in Surah At-Taghabun 64:15, indeed, your wealth and your children are but a trial, a fitna, and Allah has with Him a great reward. This verse is a reminder that wealth is not just something to be proud of, it is something you are accountable for. Just like a teacher gives an exam to test what the student has learned, Allah gives wealth to see what you will do with it. Will you be grateful or greedy? Will you spend it in good ways or sinful ones? Will you give to those in need, or will you hoard it for yourself? Every dollar you earn becomes part of your test paper, and every decision you make with it is an answer that will be reviewed on the Day of Judgment. Many people make the mistake of assuming that if someone is rich, Allah must be pleased with them. But history and the Quran teach us otherwise. Think of Pharaoh, Pharaoh. He was one of the richest and most powerful men in history, but his wealth led him to arrogance and ultimately to destruction. Wealth in itself is not proof of Allah's pleasure. Sometimes it's given to the righteous as a blessing, and other times it's given to the wicked as a rope that they use to hang themselves with. The real question is not how much you have, but what you do with what you have. That's what determines whether your wealth is a blessing or a burden. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us about the dangers of wealth when he said, every servant of Allah will be asked about 4 things, and one of them is how he earned his wealth and how he spent it. Tirmidhi. This means that on the Day of Judgment, your money won't just be seen as your personal property, it will be examined like a record book. Where did you earn it from? Was it halal or haram? Was it clean or corrupted? And once you had it, how did you use it? Did you use it to feed your family, help the poor, support good causes? Or did you waste it on luxury, pride, and sin? Even something as simple as how you behave after you receive wealth is part of the test. Some people become more generous and humble when they earn money. They donate to charity, they help their parents, they care for the community, and they use their blessings to please Allah. But others become arrogant, cold-hearted, and proud. They start to look down on those who have less, forgetting that Allah could take their wealth away at any moment. A person who was once kind and modest suddenly becomes obsessed with status, showing off, and trying to be above everyone else. This is the hidden danger of wealth. It can change your heart without you even realizing it. Allah reminds us in Surah Al-Fajr 89:15-16, as for man, when his Lord tries him and thus is generous to him and favors him, he says, my Lord has honored me. But when he tries him and restricts his provision, he says, my Lord has humiliated me. These verses teach us that people are quick to judge situations by worldly standards. When they are rich, they say, Allah must love me. And when they are struggling, they say, Allah is punishing me. But both wealth and poverty are tests. Neither is a guarantee of honor or disgrace. What matters most is how you respond to your situation. Gratitude during wealth and patience during hardship are both beloved to Allah. So the next time you see someone wealthy, don't envy them. And if you are given wealth, don't feel superior. Instead, ask yourself, am I passing this test? Am I fulfilling the rights of my money? Am I giving zakah properly? Am I helping others or just serving my ego? Because the test of wealth is not just about money. It's about attitude, about action, and about remembering that this life is temporary, but the consequences of your choices are eternal. Wealth, when used correctly, can elevate you in the sight of Allah. It can become your ticket to paradise if you spend it to support your family, uplift the poor, educate the ignorant, and spread goodness. But if you let it control your heart, it can drag you into arrogance, jealousy, selfishness, and even disbelief. This is why we must always remind ourselves, money is not the goal. Allah is. And anything that distracts you from Allah, no matter how shiny it may appear, is not a blessing. It's a warning. May Allah make us among those who are tested with wealth and pass the test with humility, generosity, and gratitude. May He protect our hearts from arrogance and keep our hands open in service to others. Ameen. 4. Everything you earn will stay behind. Only your deeds will go with you. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most humbling and sobering truths of life is this. No matter how much you earn, gather, or possess in this world, when your soul leaves your body, you will leave everything behind. The houses you built with care, the cars you polished, the money you worked day and night to collect, the designer clothes hanging in your closet, and even the reputation you spent years building. None of it will follow you into your grave. The moment your eyes close for the final time, your connection to this world is cut. The bank account remains untouched. The keys to your car stay on the table, and the mobile phone that was once always in your hand is now silent. Life moves on, but you, my brother, my sister, you begin a new journey, a journey into the unseen, where nothing comes with you except your deeds. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ explained this beautifully when he said, when a person dies, all his deeds come to an end except for 3. A continuous charity, sadaqah jariyah, beneficial knowledge, or a righteous child who prays for him, Sahih Muslim. This hadith reminds us that your money will not enter your grave with you, but the way you used it will. If you gave in charity, supported an orphan, helped build a masjid, printed Qur'ans, or sponsored someone's education, those deeds will continue earning rewards for you even after you've been buried. They become your eternal investment, one that never crashes or expires. But let's reflect on how many of us actually think this way. How many people spend their entire lives focused only on gathering and forget to give? We say, Let me save more first, let me become rich first, then I'll give. But life doesn't wait for your perfect moment. Death doesn't knock. It comes when Allah decides. And when it comes, there's no extension, no refund, no warning. You only carry your record of deeds. That is why it's so important to ask yourself regularly, am I preparing for my real home, the hereafter, or am I only decorating my temporary one in the dunya? You see, everything you own today was once someone else's, and everything you leave behind will be used by someone else tomorrow. That expensive watch on your wrist, one day it'll be in someone else's drawer. The bed you sleep in, another person will lay there after you. Even your business, your assets, your empire will be inherited, sold, or forgotten. It's not yours forever. The only thing you truly own is the deed you perform with sincerity for the sake of Allah. One of the companions, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, once said, I have never regretted anything more than a day in which the sun set and my deeds did not increase. This was the mindset of the righteous. They didn't measure their day by how much money they made. They measured it by how many good deeds they could collect before sunset. Because they understood that the real currency of the hereafter is not dollars or dinars. It is good deeds, it is taqwa, it is charity, it is sincere dua, it is kindness, it is prayer. And yet, many people today become so consumed with earning and hoarding that they become blind to their purpose. They work 12 to 14 hours a day, chasing promotions and income, and then they collapse at night too tired to pray. They scroll for hours online, building their image and presence, but they ignore their spiritual emptiness inside. They say, I'm building my future, but they forget that the real future begins when your eyes close and your book of deeds opens. Brothers and sisters, think about the grave. It is a small, dark space. You will be laid down in it alone. No family, no friends, no wealth, no phone, no followers. Just you and your deeds. And the angels will ask, who is your Lord? What is your religion? Who is your prophet? And the only thing that will help you answer is not how successful you were in the dunya, but how sincerely you lived in obedience to Allah. If you used your wealth in halal ways, gave to the needy, and avoided showing off, your wealth becomes a light for you in the grave. But if you used your money for pride, disobedience, and selfishness, it will testify against you. Imagine your own money, your own lifestyle, becoming a witness against you on the day of judgment. May Allah protect us. This is why the Quran constantly reminds us of the fleeting nature of the dunya. Know that the life of this world is only play, amusement, adornment, boasting among yourselves, and rivalry in wealth and children. Like the example of a rain whose growth pleases the farmers, then it dries up and you see it turning yellow, then it becomes scattered debris. Surah Al-Hadid 20. Allah paints a picture for us. Everything you're chasing now will eventually fade. The car you saved up for will one day rust. The house you bought with pride will one day crumble. The money you worked so hard for will eventually be spent by others. So why do we build everything for this world and so little for the next? If you knew you were going to travel to another country and stay there forever, would you spend all your time building a tent in the place you're leaving? Or would you prepare for your new eternal home? That is what death is. It's a relocation from temporary to permanent. And your deeds are your luggage. The good you do becomes your comfort. The bad you do becomes your burden. So today, let your heart wake up. Don't let the dunya fool you. Earn, yes. Work, yes. Be responsible, yes. But always remember you are not here to stay. One day, everything you own will belong to someone else, but what you gave in the path of Allah will still be yours. That is what will shine for you in your grave. That is what will defend you when you stand before your Lord. That is what you will wish you had done more of when the time runs out. May Allah allow us to live with the akhirah in our hearts, to give sincerely from what we earn, and to never let wealth distract us from the reality that only our deeds will remain with us forever. Ameen. 5. Don't let your job make you forget Salah. My dear brothers and sisters, one of the most dangerous and subtle traps of modern life is this idea that we are too busy to call our parents, too busy to read Quran, too busy to attend the masjid, and perhaps most dangerously of all, too busy to pray. We live in a time where our schedules are filled to the brim. Meetings, deadlines, business calls, school drop-offs, client presentations, overtime, all in the name of responsibility. We convince ourselves that this hustle is necessary, that if we just work a little harder today, we'll make time for Allah tomorrow. But that tomorrow never comes. And slowly, without realizing it, we allow our worldly commitments to push aside our greatest obligation, our salah. But let's pause for a moment and ask ourselves a difficult question. Who gave us this job in the first place? Who gave us the health, the intellect, the skills, and the opportunities that made that income possible? Was it not Allah? And if the very one who gave us our livelihood is being forgotten because of that livelihood, then what kind of blessing is it really? If your job is pulling you away from your 5 daily prayers, it's not a blessing, it's a test. And if your work becomes more important than your worship, then your priorities need a serious realignment. Because no amount of money in this world is worth missing your conversation with the King of all kings, your Creator. Allah commands us clearly in the Quran, establish the prayer at its prescribed times. Verily the prayer is enjoined on the believers at fixed hours. Surah An-Nisa 103. Salah is not something we squeeze in when we have time. It is something we organize our entire day around. Just as you would never miss an important meeting with your employer, how can you justify missing your appointment with the one who controls your employer, your job, your health, and your entire existence? Sadly, many people today have adopted a mindset where their career dictates everything. They say, I'll pray after this shift, or I'll make up the missed salah when I get home. But they forget that delaying salah without valid reason is a major sin. And what guarantee do we have that we will even live to pray later? How many people go to work in the morning and never return home? How many people plan to pray before bed but are taken by death before the night ends? Your life is not in your hands. The only time you truly own is now, and the only guarantee you have is this very moment. So use it to worship the one who gave it to you. You might say, but I work in a corporate office, or my job doesn't allow breaks. Then I ask you this, have you tried to ask for a space to pray? Have you made sincere dua to Allah to ease your situation? Have you prioritized your akhirah, or have you simply surrendered to the dunya's demands without trying? The reality is, if you take a step towards Allah, He will open doors for you. And if you truly value your salah, He will place barakah in your time, barakah in your earnings, and barakah in your heart. But if you choose to ignore your obligation, don't be surprised if that job becomes a source of stress, burnout, and emptiness. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, the first matter that the slave will be brought to account for on the day of judgment is the prayer. If it is sound, then the rest of his deeds will be sound. And if it is corrupt, then the rest of his deeds will be corrupt. Sunan al-Tirmidhi. This hadith shows us the central role that salah plays in our faith. It is not just a ritual, it is the foundation. If your salah is strong, everything else will fall into place. But if your salah is weak or missing, no amount of charity, fasting, or good manners can make up for it. It is your daily check-in with Allah. It is your spiritual reset, your protection, your shield. And without it, the soul becomes dry and lifeless, even if the body is busy and successful. Brothers and sisters, there is a beautiful wisdom behind praying 5 times a day. It's not because Allah needs your prayers. You need them. You need to be reminded throughout your chaotic day that you are a servant of the most merciful. That no matter how high you rise in your career, you still bow your head to the ground in humility. That no matter how stressed or overwhelmed you feel, you always have a place of peace on your prayer mat. Salah is your lifeline. It's the breath of your soul. It's the only thing that will truly keep you grounded in a world that constantly tries to pull you away from what matters. And don't be fooled by the illusion that skipping salah will help you succeed. You might make more money, you might get promoted, but without barakah, it will never bring peace. You'll earn more and feel emptier. You'll climb the ladder but lose your connection with Allah. And what's the point of success if it costs you your hereafter? Ask yourself this. If your job asked you to give up your child, your health, or your sleep forever, would you agree? Then how can you give up your prayer, your connection with the one who gave you everything in the first place? Salah is the line between belief and disbelief. It is the marker of a true Muslim. When the Prophet ﷺ was asked about the difference between a Muslim and a non-Muslim, he said, "The covenant that distinguishes between us and them is the prayer. Whoever abandons it has committed disbelief."